What's up, guys? I hope you're doing well. Let's get into price. So, I'm gonna start today with the dollar. Go to the daily. Now, remember how we called out this daily sell side level and this order block on the weekly, which let me show you the weekly order block. The start of these down two candles. So again, I've been claiming, I won't get too much into the higher time frames, but I've been claiming that we took this sell side a long time ago, then we started this bull run up, and this is just a higher low to continue higher. So that's the narrative that I'm framing on this dollar, that this is a higher low, because look, we didn't have a low put in. Draw the fib out. You want to find a PD array that is in the discount. So then that's on the weekly. If we go down to the daily, PD array that is in a discount on the daily, this sell side. We could also group these or transpose this weekly order block down to the daily, but I just want to keep it a little more simple and say this daily sell side, weekly OB. And now we're retracing up. So the next interesting thing is we want to see, I guess, this level right here, because this order block on the daily, we respected that. Bodies came back up. It's a consequent encroachment of this. So now we're going to want to start watching these levels that we were targeting to the downside, but we want to see if we just disrespect them to the upside. So it's good that we had such a strong move off of or above this low right here, but what's really gonna let us know whether this is a higher low and we're gonna continue higher is how we respect these next levels. So we have these two up close candles. You can see that the bodies line up nicely with this green line, this old order block. So we'll use that green line as, denoting that these up close bodies. So we want to see price get through that. Again, it might not happen today. It's a Thursday. We have Powell speaking twice tomorrow. I don't know if it's like a continuous thing, but he speaks, according to the economic calendar, he speaks at 11 and 2. So maybe, this was really the extent of the move today, and tomorrow is going to be the one that gets us higher. But so on the dollar, we'll want to watch these levels that we targeted and see them be disrespected to the upside. If we see them start to be respected as resistance, and then we take this low out, then that theory is out the window, and we're going to start targeting more downside. But again, 4 hour, this 4 hour. See, we already got above this high. It's good to see. I'd want to see us kind of get above this 4 hour and start to get into this daily. Let's go to NASDAQ. So I talked about in the market review last night about how I think after this wick on the daily, that's going to be what sends us lower. On the 4 hour for NASDAQ, we have these equal lows down here. We've taken buy side once, twice, 3 times. I like this as a 3 drives pattern. And we have a lot of sell side on this hourly 4 hour. But again, these higher time frames, we are respecting higher time frame PD arrays, and we've really been respecting. We haven't really disrespected any higher time frame bullish PD arrays. So I think once we do, and I think the first one will be this order block right here. Once we take out this low, I really think we'll get lower, because that's when it's really starting to clean up this higher time frame sell side. And then I think once we see it, clean up on the 4 hour, it'll probably be doing so on the daily, and then that's when we'll get that weekly retracement into an inefficiency. Go down to the 1 hour on NASDAQ. As you can see, we're still range bound, so we're gonna have to really flex our discipline and patience muscles because we are still in this range on the indices. So we came up here. I think that was just a sweep of this liquidity, and we broke lower. We took out this low. We came up, retraced, and I'm hoping, I'm not hoping, but it didn't do it on NASDAQ. I was looking at ES this morning. ES came above that high. So again, this is one of those things where this is why we have to be careful, because we're not trending right now. We're not trending on the higher time frames. If we were trending, it would be a little more clear, but we left these equal highs here. So until we start violating higher time frame PD arrays, it could come back down, come down like it did right here, and then just go higher and target those equal highs. Again, we're right at the middle, so this white line is the 50% of this range that we've outlined. So especially when we're in the middle of the range, our probabilities are the lowest. So I think if we take this low, though, again, well, it's the low of the range. But if we do, then, we're leaving the range. But again, as long as the closer we are to this white line, the lower the probability of us guessing the draw on liquidity. I'm going to go to ES. ES, we got a similar story. We have the sideways price action. Outline this 4-hour order block on ES. As you can see, yesterday when we came up, took this buy side, plummeted, our bodies we wicked to it, but our bodies respected it. So that was the 4-hour discount that this was targeting. You can see this morning we dropped into it again, but still closed up. I am liking the idea of this 4-hour 3 drives pattern, 1, 2, 3. So I want to see us, and I like it if these 3 up close candles, are kind of like an order block. If we get below these lows and then below this 4-hour order block, I would really like downside. But remember, the timing on when that plays out, it might not be today. And I always say that because let's just not get too hooked on an idea, especially when we're in this consolidation. Because when we're in this consolidation, it can really have a tendency to reverse. I think that's what we'll outline. I'll go down to the 15-minute, show you guys. So this was that high that we targeted. As you can see, overnight, this was the overnight session. We came up, came down, dropped into that 4-hour order block, discount PD array, and rallied higher. And then, as you can see, we started respecting PD arrays, fair value gap, order block. Came up, came down, this low, respected this down close candle. And then, as you can see, we were rallying higher, targeting this buy side. We had 8:30 news, so 8:30 news kind of whipsawed. And you can see 8:30 news is this candle right here. And it came down, swept that low, so took sell side, but the body respected this inefficiency. Came up, made an equal high with that buy side. And then it kind of gyrated back and forth on the lower time frame. Finally came up, took those equal highs, and then right when it took those equals highs, it rejected lower. I was kind of, outlining it here. Go down to the 1 minute. I was kind of looking to see if we had any willingness to retrace into this breaker, into this fair value gap that we to possibly use as an inversion. This is 5 minute. We didn't. Came down, delivered to this sell side liquidity. I notice how we're consolidating here. I think, you know, that is the sell side because that we're consolidating above, because that's the 15-minute low. So if you're wondering why, like, if you're going on the 1 minute and you're like, well, why wasn't this the last sell side liquidity? Why wasn't this the last sell side liquidity? Why didn't it go down to this sell side liquidity? And it might continue lower, but I think the reason why it priced so aggressively and stopped its aggressive run at this low is because it's a 15-minute low. See it right there? So again, you know, remember what I said about where we are in this range. We haven't disrespected any PD arrays to the downside on the higher time frames. So on the 15-minute chart, it's allowable. We don't have to respect every single low. It doesn't have to make perfect highs, higher highs and higher lows. So this is still, you can still say this is bullish structure on the 15-minute. So it came down. Maybe it just took that for liquidity to then, it took these equal highs here, but they're relatively still intact. So we could come up again, and it just showcases how when you're in these ranges, price can really, it can bounce around and it doesn't want to find a direction. Because if we weren't in a range, that might continue a little lower, but we're bouncing around right now. So I think that's important to keep in mind. I'd really want to see a body close below this swing low on the 15-minute before taking shorts. I think, remember, so in the market review last night, I was kind of talking about how, and then since we're in this higher time frame range, and there is a very big willingness to want to run short-term highs and short-term lows and then reverse. So I want to make sure now that I'm in, like, the 5-minute is trending before we take entries. So see how our 5-minute now is a little bit of sideways. I'd want to see it before I'd enter. I'd want to see it on the 5-minute showing it continuing away from this range. So that could be, closing a 5-minute candle lower and then making a 5-minute, basically making a 5-minute swing low and then making a 5-minute swing high and then continuing, and vice versa. This high though that we swept, this buy side, this was the lunch. Is it the lunch high? Yeah, it was the lunch high of yesterday. So pretty significant level. But these are very nicely equal highs. And remember, NASDAQ didn't even print one above that. So here's an example of, you know, say we were to make a fair value gap. I wouldn't want to enter now on the 1 minute because I didn't get the confirmation of the trend on the 5 minutes. So it could violate that fair value gap. And what it is it's just this 5 minute candle placing another wick below this low. So that's kind of an example of like an entry that I wouldn't take because we're not trending on the 5 minute. Notice how these highs are staying below this up close candle. Yeah, so I do like up downside. I like downside until we get above this breaker. Really, I thought we could retrace up into it before going lower. Let's watch this opening range. I am expecting a down close day. That's my bias for the daily. As long as, I guess we'll probably be able to figure out a little more after the opening range, but yeah, on the daily, as you can see, it looks brutal. I'm hoping that after we have this aggressive wick that took sell side, all this buy side, that's going to be what allows the daily to move lower. Really similar to how, you know, once we took this liquidity right here, like it put that equal high in, we took the liquidity and then it was allowed to go lower. So I'm hoping we get a similar thing on the daily. But we'll see. Again, remember, this white line right here is a 50% of our range that we're in, and that's a very low probability area to be in. If we reprice, yeah, if we keep going aggressively above these highs, I think we could be going up. Opening range. Not much in terms of an opening range gap. Barely anything actually. I don't think it is anything. Yeah, so I wouldn't map that. Yeah, this hourly really shows how brutal trading's been. I wonder what Powell's speaking at tomorrow. He speaks twice. Take a look at NQ. Looking very similar. See what the dollar's doing. Remember, the dollar, when we talked about it this morning right before market open, this high was right at the low of those up close candles. So I think if we continue above this high, it could get really bearish. I like what we're doing on the 5 minute. Looks like we're starting to actually trend on the 5. Not much in terms of an entry for our models right now. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so Nasdaq, as you can see, is below these pretty higher time frame lows. It's an hour, 2 hourly lows. They're just 1 hourly low. This hourly or 15 minute. It's also an hourly low. ES isn't below them yet. It is expected because ES did make that higher high here. So Nasdaq couldn't, showing that it's a lot weaker, and so it makes sense that Nasdaq is leading this downside move. Let's see how much it continues. The dollar looks like it's about to make that pretty significant high. So it seems like we have a lot of things lining up pretty nicely. That a lot of confluences for this down close day that I talked about. But when I say a down close day, I'm not meaning a day like yesterday where we get a small body. I really want a significant attack on daily lows when I say that. But again, we have this hourly candle looking good. 15 minute also looking good. I really want to see us get below this low on ES. Nasdaq did not. You have to be careful here. So as you can see, this was that overnight Asian range consolidation. We took liquidity here in the morning in London, and then it was buy side of the curve. Then on ES we took these equal highs, and now it's delivering some a sell side of the curve. And I just want to see if it continues below this low. Again, remember, this white line is the 50% of this range we've been in on the higher time frame. So and I guess to explain why it makes it so difficult is so we don't know when we're going to break out of this range. And when you think about it, when you're trading trending markets, this would be a great time, like right at 50%, it would be a great time to either buy or sell to continue the trend. But when we're not trending, you don't know when it's going to finally break out of that trend. So when you're in a trending, or when you're in a non-trending market and it's consolidating, people say this online. I feel like they just say it to like make content, because like everyone's struggling in a sideways market, so they always go, if we're in a sideways market, you should be selling at the low, and like your best buys are going to be at the low end. And it's like, yes, that is true. It's just very, very hard to do in real time when you're not in hindsight. And because we train so much of the time in trending markets, and that's like very opposite thinking of trading in a trending market. And it's so easy to call hindsight. It's like, oh, well, look at this range we're in, and when we take a higher time frame high, then that's your highest probability short. And it's just like, yeah, that's very easy to say in hindsight. Okay, so the dollar is breaking above that significant high. Really like that. Love that. Looks like it's doing it strong. We're getting below this 15-minute and hourly low. I would really want to see us start to close. Again, we could just wick. I mean, look at the wicks on the hourly. We're into that 4-hour order block. So remember, I said I'd really want to, for these higher time frames, if we violate this 4-hour order block, then I think that's going to be what breaks us out of this consolidation. But again, it looks like it is right now, but remember, this could turn into a wick. That's a pretty big wick. So this is when you just wait. I like that we got below both of these lows so aggressively too. But I mean, look at this. See, this was an aggressive run down, and then it just stopped on a dime and came back up. Same right here. Okay. Why do I have this sell side here? So we just took this hourly low. Again, I'm really focusing. I really want us to take this hourly, or this 4-hour order block, because we can take this hourly low, and then look, remember what I was saying, when it was printing, when this candle was printing, it was like, shit, we're going down, but it can turn into a candle like this very easily. And say the price does want to continue this range we're in, taking that hourly sell side, we're now, so this orange line is the bottom quarter. So, those people that are always like, your best buys are going to be at the lower end of the range, this would be a good buying opportunity if we wanted to stay in this range. With the dollar pricing so aggressively higher, though, I kind of want to say that it's about to break out of consolidation, but I'm not going to make that claim yet, because what would we would have to wait for a PD array to be violated to really, and then to actually leave it. So this is that 4-hour order block that we're watching. This is looking like a very strong hourly though. So I get dollars looking good. See where NASDAQ is at. NASDAQ is very low. Let's focus on ES. Coming into 10, I'm probably actually going to have to, I'm going to look at the dollar. No. So, the dollar, we're coming up to that 4-hour fair value gap. I'd want to see us get above it. I am worried about this daily too. I think once we get above this daily, it's really going to start really taking off. But there's a lot of reasons for it to reverse. A lot of PD arrays that are going to hold down until then. And remember that. So this yellow line is the dollar. This high that we're making right now, that was right when it was tapping the bottom of that 4-hour fair value gap, using it as an inversion. So say it wants to come lower down the dollar, that could let the indices just return into our consolidation range. Oh, going higher. And then, you know, another dangerous thing about consolidations is I'll be saying that I want it to close on the hourly below these lows. Because usually in trending markets, that's a good confirmation that we're finally continuing the trend. But, I mean, look at this. Look how we closed multiple candles above this high. This last one too was very strong. It wasn't like we formed a giant wick that kind of forecasted this reversal. It's just really strong body followed by an even stronger bodied sell-off. I like that for the next downside level. I mean, we're basically at it. Right there. Then after that, it would be that. And then we'd be at the bottom of our range, really. So we've taken a lot of sell side. I think if price really came back up quickly, then that would kind of be the market just returning into the range. It'd probably run a lot of buy side. I'm going to take this off. And it could just turn into another day that looks like these 2 days. Notice the consequent encroachment of this daily wick is right where price is stopping at right now. So if we did reverse, that'd be a great area to do it. Consequent encroachment of that daily wick. I picked that one because it was the longest one. It also made a swing low. It's lower low, lower high, or both lower candles. So this is the tip of that swing, longest wick. The charts are a lot more cluttered than I want them to be, but I do really want to outline this range we're in right here. I want to keep that on there, but it's making it a little more cluttered than I'd preferred. Great place to turn around. Consequent encroachment of that daily wick. Coinciding with the 4-hour order block. Let's see. I think, yeah, this 4-hour candle closes at 10. So as long as we get above, if we get above this green line, that'll be a really strong bot. That'll be a 4-hour candle body respecting the order block body. I mean, it doesn't have to. It can. Yeah, so let's watch the close of this 4-hour candle. Dollar dropping. Looks like these 5-minute bodies being held off by consequent encroachment. It's 4-hour. Again, so we have a 4-hour PD array that looks like our 4-hour candle body is respecting. 5 minutes stop to consequent encroachment. So we have a 4-hour PD array on the dollar that is pushing price lower. And we have a 4-hour PD array on the S&P, this bullish order block, that is holding price higher. So, and it's at consequent encroachment of a daily wick, strong level. I like this as like a bottom right now. As long as the dollar keeps going lower, I think we'll start to run buy side. I think we could get all the way up to here. I think we could classify this as a 2022 model if we got a retracement into a fair value gap, because what we did was we took liquidity on the 15 and the 5 minute. We would need, I'd want a 5 minute shift in structure, really. Maybe not. Depends on how the 1 minute forms. Look at NASDAQ. Again, our NASDAQ was the leader to the downside. It's below its new week opening gap. But they both seem to be at least shifting on the 1 minute. Looks like it's about to take that 1 minute swing high. Dollar still looks heavy. Yeah, if we got above this little consolidation right here, we'd be playing long for the silver bullet. I think I still want to go target buy side for the silver bullet coming into 10. I want to see us kind of blast through this order block. Remember what I was saying earlier about, the people that say your highest probability longs are in a consolidation or at the bottom of the consolidation. Well, see, notice how we tapped right into the bottom 25% of our range, then reversed. I'd like to see somebody do that live. I mean, it's very, very easy to just go and find a bunch of logic and post it in hindsight. We haven't left much of an inefficiency since we came above this swing high. I don't really like this one. It's a little too low for me because, again, on this 5 minute, we haven't shifted structure yet. We won't shift on the 5 minute until we get above this high. So in theory, this could be a lower high that we're making to continue lower. I'm not gonna submit to that yet, but kind of like I said about trending on the 5 for entries, I'd want to see us shift market structure up here before going long. Dollar is looking heavy though, so I like that. Look at this hourly candle. Look at that wick. What I'm really coming into 10, what I'm really going to wait for is something one-sided. We're not going to wait. We're not going to take anything that could be 50-50. I think until we break above these swing highs, you could argue downside. NASDAQ seems like it doesn't want to close a body above this swing high it made, so it was the leader to the downside, but good to note. Gonna keep that open. And another thing that's hard for markets that aren't trending is, getting up right here. If we knew we were trending down, would be like a great place to short. But we're not trending. Look at the dollar. The dollar is kind of making a swing low right now. NASDAQ didn't print a body above that high. It's making a swing high. Wonder if NASDAQ. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Again, I want a really obvious one-sided setup. And I liked how strong this candle went to the downside. I just don't like that the dollar seems to still be going lower. Remember, we said this for value gap right here. NASDAQ is close to that new low. We have this 5-minute fair value gap that we're in. We have this 5-minute fair value gap here that lined up with this 1-minute order block. So I like the delivery, the market structure to the downside. The dollar, I wish it was, pumping higher like it was previously. NASDAQ is getting really heavy. Let's see what ES does. Remember, all these sell side levels on the hourly are also there on the 15-minute. And again, this white line is the middle of our consolidation range. It's probably the lowest probability trade in terms of a consolidation. I don't think trying to short off of any of these two fair value gaps is super high probability. If we broke below this low or with some strong intention and formed a fair value gap, I would change my mind. But I think where we're at right now, you could argue it could want to see the other end of the range, especially on this right now in the 15-minute and the hourly. Again, I'm hoping we go lower, because I think that will coincide with the narrative that this major sweep of liquidity to the left is granting us to drop lower. And remember, in the weekly forecast, we talked about the weekly going lower into the daily PD array. So maybe this will be the move that gets us down here. I would like that. It would also mean we're finally breaking free of our sideways price range. But look at the dollar. The dollar is continuing lower. So that's making me, I'm waiting on that. But they don't have to be, tick for tick. They don't move in lockstep. There hasn't been a fair value gap yet that you could have entered on. And I want to say we're going lower. It's just, that's what these it looks like from the 1 to 5. But on the 15-minute up, it's not what it looks like. And the dollar's continuing down. You have this consequent encroachment of this daily wick. Okay, let's see what we do. I'll be curious to see if it finds support at these fair value gaps for lower, or if it disrespects them to the upside. If it disrespects it to the upside, we would get that 5-minute market structure shift, because we've printed more candles, so now we have a lower 5-minute swing high. Yeah, lower swing high. Coming right off of that daily consequent encroachment. I would like that. But again, remember how the dollar and the indices don't have to move perfectly in lockstep. So yeah, the dollar retraced a lot at the same time, around the same time that we had the indices going lower. But now it can decide to, go up again, and that will be what allows the indices to drop. So it's not like for every swing low or swing high the dollar makes, the indices have to make a corresponding one. NASDAQ. So you can see on NASDAQ, we're stopping right at this fair value gap. It's below this swing low. So we have an SMT divergence. I think NASDAQ and ES are, they're kind of, I'd almost call it a little more than an SMT, almost like they're not moving in tandem. Let me go over to NASDAQ. So NASDAQ is really testing the low of its range right here. Yeah, NASDAQ's making a pretty significant low that ES hasn't yet. I think that's a... Might use that as a red flag. Again, because like, and I think NASDAQ's an even better example. If we're in a trending market, this would be a great short entry. But if it's not trending and it wants to go back into its consolidation, it's going to run up higher. And you just don't know when it's going to break out of the trending market. Or when it's going to break back into a trend. It's going to break out of the consolidation. So again, the fact that we had this consolidation, you know, it's a swing high on the 5-minute. We came down, made a swing low on the 5-minute, came up, turned at a relevant point to make a lower high. But now we're going to really want to see it take this low, similar to how NASDAQ did, if we are actually breaking out of this consolidation. I think if it runs up and takes this shifts in market structure right here, then we're back to just gyrating inside of the range. The dollar is looking weaker. And this is kind of that like scenario where, you know, you can call both sides. Like NASDAQ looks like was really about to drop. ES kind of said otherwise. I think if we get above this swing high though, I think it'd be more one-sided. It'd be like, okay, we're going up. You know, we made this low at a very significant level. We came back down, retested it. We have the dollar coming back down, taking some 5-minute, making a 5-minute shift in structure on the dollar. So we'll be taking these lows. Yeah, I think that would be a decent setup. So see, NASDAQ, this fair value gap didn't deliver to the downside. It still has this one, but that would have been a pretty large stop, possibly. Was it 34? It would have been like a 50-point stop. I mean, not giant, but for the conditions we're in right now, the probability of you just losing those 50 are kind of high. Okay, so we're going to the upside. I want to see the dollar get heavy. I want to see us break above these highs, and then maybe we'll We'll find a fair value gap to the upside. First, we got to close above this. But the dollar seems like it wants to continue lower. I want to wait for a close. There we go. And then I want it to take these highs. I want it to do it on the 5 minute. We've taken a lot of sell side liquidity all morning. Delivered a lot of sell side. I want to see if we want to target some buy side. I want to see it use this as support. I think in higher probability market probably would have used this as an inversion and entered there. I do really want to wait for us to get above these highs just because, again, this, the market lately, I'm trying to be a little more selective with the setups. I could see it running right off of that and not even allowing us to get in, but we're going to have to be okay with that. Dollar still going down. Okay. I want it to close strongly. Let's see if it forms a fair value gap. And then we can enter off that and start targeting some buy side here. And this buy side. And I'm not going to sweat it too much if we start printing candles higher, because that would allow us to finally get a close on this 5 minute. And I would really like it if I'd feel really confident in going long if this 5 minute candle closed above these highs. I like where this 5 minute dollar is. I want to see it take these lows and shift structure on the 5 as we shift structure for the indices. we have, let's go, we'll do one there. Put the stop there. Okay, so we have to be careful because we didn't get that 5-minute close. See how it's turned into a big wick. We have the stop right before this down close candle. The dollar didn't get that shift on the 5 yet. So let's see how it plays out. I like that we have this order block nested right below this fair value gap. See the dollar going a little higher. Let's see. If we did play that inversion, we would have got 5 handles. Let's see. Yeah, now that this wick formed right here, I'm really not as confident in this upside move. So it got stopped out. Let's continue and see. Just move to the sidelines a little. I think it could still go up. I think if it got below this fair value gap, it would definitely be going lower because we'd be violating 3 PD arrays. 1, 2, 3. But again, I don't really want to enter off this just because the 5-minute wick right here. It could be it though. It could go higher off that. If you notice this order block, the bodies, we're respecting the mean threshold of it. So that would be one of those scenarios where, you know, the wicks kind of got us out. I think the stop was right below this order block, so it really just came and touched our stop and then went higher, which would be rough. But if we close the back above this fair value gap, I'd fancy the idea of re-entering long. So let's see what happens. It would have to close. Okay. Okay, so we didn't get the close above it. Again, so now we have this consolidation on the 5 minute. So I'll probably just sit sideline for right now. I think what could happen is, so see these 5 minute candles, we might consolidate between these two levels, and then it could really take off to the upside. But again, I'm gonna wait until we start to see a trend, start seeing like it trending on the 5 before I really consider anything, because it could kind of bounce around between this for the next like 10 minutes. And then we don't have much in terms, I guess you could say we're trending on the 15, but it's kind of hard to read. So I said before we placed that trade that I wanted this 5 minute candle to close above it, and then we entered prematurely, and as you can see, didn't get the close, so it turned over a little more. Then it got us stopped out. And like I said, this white line, this 50% of this range is probably the least probable if we're in a consolidation. I feel like lately the 1050 macro, while we've been in this consolidation range, has been, I might like kind of gyrate for the first part of the 10 o'clock hour. Then it usually has been taken off around this time. Still watching again. Remember, just kind of back and forth on this 5 minute. So we could have possibly, tapped into that to then send it higher, but we really just have to wait and demand more data. And that's, really just the mindset you have to have in these conditions if you're going to trade. I mean, it'd probably be best not to trade, but it can be really easy to get caught up in like, oh, you just took a loss and now, it's breaking down and now you're trying to enter short here and you just kind of start, trading back and forth. So what we'll do is we'll just wait for more data. coming back up. Seems like the dollar wants to take another stab at making this 5-minute shift. We'll see if the indices also want to make another stab at closing a body above these highs. Got, this 15-minute sideways range. And just to reiterate again, guys, this is really hard. Really, like, this is close to impossible to trade. Like, people everywhere are probably getting chopped up in this. And the really, really smart people are just not trading it. And it's just hard because a lot of strategies you trade trends, and this isn't a trend. So like if we shifted market structure here, you'd want to enter for from the retracement for a continuation. But look how we retrace that deeply. And yeah, we retrace that deeply. We didn't really get the shift on the 5, which is, why I've said a few times where I need to start waiting for the 5-minute to prove that it's trending. And that's why, we already took that small loss, but I'm just going to sit here and wait for the 5-minute to make some movement before I even really start looking at it closer. I want to see it close below these lows. And I think we'll start knocking out these sell side levels. So in terms of, if we're playing range bound strategies, again, this orange line right here is the bottom quarter of our range, and some people will be like, oh, well, great area to take longs in. NASDAQ made a lower low. See if it did it on the 5. Yeah, it did on the 5-minute too. I'm also thinking about, so now that I found out in the streaming software how I can put pictures on the stream, I might try and find out how to play some like really, really, really low, like classical music or jazz. It's like something instrumental. So when there's times when it's like this and we're just waiting, it won't be waiting in silence. We'll have some nice instrumental in the background. I'm going to take these off. You can see right here, the bodies respected that mean threshold. And that's when it turned, came up. Yeah, I like downside. Came up to that mean threshold, took out this buy side, turned, came up, used this fair value gap twice to go lower, but I really want to see a continuation, and it's really fighting it off. Okay, so let's see if this 1150 macro breaks us out of this 5-minute consolidation. just realized the date on the stream's wrong. There we go. Yeah, it's going for it. Okay, let's see if we continue. You'd really want to see it not get above this swing high if it was to continue lower. Now that we came down, broke below these, closed below them, we've gone back and forth in the 5 minute. Like, this is a balanced price range now. So if we do start to leave it, you don't want to see it come back into it. In terms of this 10 o'clock silver bullet, I think this was it, which we didn't catch. We were trying to go long here. I think some people might have been able to. I think that's not like a cherry-picked example. It's a little cherry-picked because we're not trending, but it's not super random because, as you can see, we have this 1 minute order block here that we saw price respect nicely here. Then we came up on the 5 minute, swept above these equal highs on the 1 minute, but it was just a wick on the 5 minute. This 5 minute wick tapped into this last up close candle. The body respected this 5 minute fair value gap. So when this 5 minute candle closed and then it printed this down close candle, I think there's some, you had enough logic behind it to enter there and put your stop here, and then it would have delivered. I think, in hindsight, that's what happened, but it just shows why in real time, was a little harder. And what I should have done, where we made the mistake in that trade we took, was we didn't wait for the 5-minute candle to close, because if we saw it close like it did, I probably wouldn't have gone long. So we just jumped the gun on trying to enter on this fair value gap here to go long, when it was really kind of the inversion, or this one right here. That was the silver bullet to the downside. But I think if I waited for that 5-minute candle to close, and I saw it close like that, I probably would have hesitated to go short. I mean, I would have hesitated to go long. And that's kind of the hard part, and it was consolidating on the 5-minute. But even here, look, we closed the candle body below these lows, and now we're kind of coming back up. Let's see if it wants to go to the upside now, because we just took sell side. I'll stay on to the end of this macro time just to see. NASDAQ looked like it kind of wasn't as consolidated as ES. Not terrible. And then remember this too, like this whole range that we've been in since 947 has been like 16 handles top to bottom. So that is pretty tight. feel like it wants to go up because it just took this sell side, the dollar going down. Nasdaq's pretty far below this kind of consolidation. And here's the thing too is, so I kind of talked about how in hindsight we should have waited for this candle to close, but in that same theory, we have the consolidation, then we got a body close to the downside. So you could have been like, okay, we closed the body to the downside. Well, here's a fair value gap and a PD array for that continuation. But nope, it didn't continue. But it went back on you. Yeah, I want to see if it comes up to the top of the range and runs buy side now that it took the sell side down here. But then again, it's really 50-50. Like we broke below here. It could just be coming up and entering there to go lower. Let's see if it closes above this. Okay, so we opened up above it. I think it'll probably run for these two highs. What it will do after that, I don't know. Dollar is going lower. Looks like it's finally closing below these lows and getting that 5-minute shift in market structure. So as soon as it did that, see this candle body close, finally closed below. That's when you get this, the large move up. Let's see. Doesn't really look like it wants to run. You know what I might try? I might try to, if we print a down close candle into this, I will buy it when we break above and go back above that down close candle. So well, I really wanted to dip into this. I guess it did touch it. Okay, well, it seems like TradingView doesn't want to put those orders in, so maybe that's a sign. Cool. So I'm curious if it's gonna, it just tapped into that inversion. It's gonna go run the buy side because we took sell side here. We have the dollar going lower. And then we still have those equal highs on the higher time frame way over here. I really just want to know where the draw on liquidity is. It's kind of my main interest in staying on. want to see if it comes down, kind of hits into this 5-minute fair value gap, and then goes higher. Okay, I'm probably gonna log off. Again, I'm hoping that since we took this liquidity on the daily to the buy side, that it now will run for sell side. But again, that's what I was planning on going into the day, and it looks like, it's moving lower. It's kind of melting, taking out sell side. But we have Powell speaking tomorrow, and I'm wondering if it was really just, they were holding the market in consolidation for what he's going to say. And then maybe when he speaks, they'll finally start to let it move. I really just want to see if it starts to expand off this 5-minute. What I'd be looking for if it starts taking out swing highs, because on the 5-minute it came down, took sell side liquidity, came up. I mean, technically this is a swing high, so it shifted market structure a little bit. Left a fair value gap, created a 5-minute, created a 5-minute fair value gap, came in, treated this as an order block, and I want to see if it expands off that, taking off these highs. I mean, I think it could really get up here. That's what I was targeting for our buy side, because we have these relatively equal highs. Let's see if I can go show it on the 15 possibly. Yeah, so this high that we swept this morning, very nicely equal. We've been sideways for so long. I'm wondering, probably like the 11, like the lunch macro will kind of go for liquidity. Okay, but I'm going to log off. Good luck with your trading today, guys.